One of the key dynamics in any organization is the relationship between sales and marketing. On this episode of the Boost Numbers podcast, Nadia Davis, VP of Marketing for CaliberMind, shares how she works closely with sales to achieve results. As a true friend to sales, Nadia's approach would be welcome to any sales team. Enjoy the discussion. Hello and welcome to an episode of the Boost Numbers podcast. Today, very excited to have someone from the marketing function in as we focus on sales in this podcast. They work very closely together. Today, we have Nadia Davis, VP of Marketing at CaliberMind, who provide a marketing kind of intelligence platform. I'll call it. I'll let you do the description. Not a good idea to describe someone's company to the marketing team, but are providing very interesting solutions for folks to make good marketing decisions. Have some AI-enabled tools, which we'll chat about, a big topic these days. So I'm super excited to kind of get into the sales marketing conversation with you. I think it's going to be great. Thanks for joining today, Nadia. You want to take a minute and introduce yourself and what CaliberMind is doing?
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Nadia Davis. I lead marketing here at CaliberMind, and I came to CaliberMind from being a customer of CaliberMind. I'm not really looking to make a switch, but I was one of those convinced and converted in love with the platform doing amazing things. And CaliberMind started out in the space of large enterprises attribution, and this is still something that we do very well. And we've expanded that to go-to-market intelligence in general, whether it's ABM performance insights and attribution, sales intelligence and insights, buyer journeys, funnels, whether it's account-based funnels or people-based funnels. So the way I think about it, like we have all this marketing data everywhere, which is chaotic, and CaliberMind helps turn that data chaos into clarity. So that's kind of the best way of thinking about CaliberMind.
That's great. Thanks for that intro. And I'm sure we'll learn more as we chat here some more. I think a lot about my background has been largely sales, but you work very closely with marketing and this, there's the age-old marketing and sales and how do they work together and do they work together well, and places where that are successful. I think that's part of the key to success on the commercial side. And a big part of it, just firsthand experience myself, is kind of what you described CaliberMind is doing. Marketing shows up at a quarterly business review or at an executive review and shows data and dynamics on the campaigns. And then sales is in the following meeting and they go, what's going on? Why is the quarter slow? Marketing is saying we're getting leads. We're getting this account-based marketing is working. We're getting to accounts we've never been into before. You could make up the scenarios. So you're providing tools to really help clarify, it sounds like, that process, so you can maybe get a little bit more of an objective analytical approach versus kind of the marketing story and the sales story, and of course a little bit of this going on in an organization. Is that accurate?
The biggest challenge on go-to-market teams in general is that it is very much a dichotomous environment, right? You have teams that are focused on their own lily pad, and the finger pointing is real, but I think part of that really started when and I don't want to blame Salesforce, but you have a lot of people use Salesforce, and you have opportunity sourcing. Who was this sourced by? Sales or marketing, right? And it's really easy to pull those reports and run the tallies and say, well, they said they were going to get X. We said we're going to get Y. And look we got more than they did, right? And I feel like that's part of one of those very easy to understand, internalize, and relate to kind of problem fixes that CaliberMind provides. Like when you think about the buyer's journey, I have been guilty of showing this slide for an opportunity that was won to the sales team. Say, hey guys, we did such a great job. Remember that opportunity that you won? Look, this is the entire path for this account over the last 2 years. And look, there's a website visit and an event handshake and an email open and a webinar attended and a white paper downloaded. They look at it, they nod, but somehow they're less enthusiastic than I am presenting this slide, right? And what I didn't realize until I became a client of CaliberMind is that there were no sales touches in my journey. So as far as the sales team was concerned, they did nothing over that period of 2 years. I purposefully, even though it was inadvertently, but purposefully in their eyes, excluded them from being present in this buyer's journey. And where do you show that? You show that at a QBR. Their boss is there. So the boss is supposed to nod and get excited and clap to marketing, but he does not see his team doing anything. So AEs automatically get very apprehensive that somehow their contribution was excluded out of the picture. So, I mean, I feel like in a lot of cases, we're all talking about tools and tech, and I'm sure AI will be a part of this conversation. But at the end of the day, it's like, how can we bring people together because it's two teams working together towards the common goal? It's never, individual contributor sport. It's just not. It takes a village to close deals, right? And in a lot of cases, it's just all looking at the same single source of truth, as cheesy as it may sound, because CRMs were supposed to solve for that. They didn't, right? And everybody's seeing the same story.
Yeah, it's a great point. So you have this long journey, which is exactly what, leadership would want to see, folks would want to see at a client, but then there were no sales in your example, a lack of a sales touch, or maybe just the data wasn't a part of what was presented. So what types of things are you doing now or have learned from that to like change that so that is it, keep marketing kind of the journey the same as you described and then do a better job educating sales, or have you folded kind of the sales folks in to tell more of that journey over that 2-year example you gave?
By saying sales education, you gave me this PTSD moment
We read
because
everything that marketing publishes. We memorize it. We
I know,
never.
right? Not. But I've been so enamored with the idea that if only I took time, and that I did, and just did sales enablement and educated sales of how to consume all this wonderful stuff that marketing generates daily, maybe hourly, maybe, every minute, right? There's a lot of stuff that comes from marketing. Marketing data is voluminous, it's murky, sometimes it's thin, sometimes it's directional, but it comes from all the different platforms, has all the different metrics. We live that life. Sales does not, but if only we could educate them how to do marketing, wouldn't they be so much better, right? And I've done that. And I was so proud of myself when I brought in an ABM platform. And I said, there are 5 places in Salesforce where you got to click, just 5. If every day you start with going to 5 different watering holes and look at all the stuff, then you will totally know what to do today. It will kind of give you an idea who to go after. Well, what I didn't realize, that it was 4 places too many. They wanted one place, right?
Yeah.
And, ABM platforms, I feel like they struggle with the sales adoption for the same very reason. They do show you some kind of account level path within that finite universe. I call it the Eye of Mordor, right? From Lord of the Rings. Every platform sees their own version of where they play. So that Eye of Mordor sees where you put in your ads. And then it will show you this account had so many impressions, so many ads, so many website visits, right? But they do not pull any of the sales visits. So naturally, if we just step out of the sales versus marketing thing and kind of apply this common sense, man on the street type of logic, right? So marketing did things, sent white papers, emails, everything. The sales team made calls, met with a person, went to an event, shook hands, agreed to some follow-up. Like you start seeing that not all of these interactions are created equal. Like you see that some of them have more tangibility and weight. Some of them have a relationship, a one-on-one relationship established. So clearly an argument could be made, well, this is worth more, right? If you think about it at scale, how do you operationalize that? Like most people, like the level of sophistication that is required at this point to kind of do the justice to what's worth what. And we're not even talking about your average, give 1 point for this, give 2 points for that. Another mistake that marketers can make, and I've made that a lot in the past, you can open up your scoring model to the sales team. They have no clue how it works, where it comes from, but they know that if it says email is worth 3 points, they can make a guess and say, why is it 3? Why not 2? Why not 4? Maybe 5, maybe none. So it opens up another, Pandora's box of arguments. And the line that we use at CaliberMind when it comes to reporting, like your reporting should tell a story, not start a debate. How do you avoid that debate? That's where, people have to put a little bit more thought into.
That's a great line. Tell a story, not start a debate. And I think, some folks, it's always a spectrum. Some folks will embrace it, show me more, train me, I'll use it. And some of the sales team members, of course, will do whatever they want. Doesn't matter how much training you give them because they'll figure it out on their
Lone
own.
wolf is a thing. And if the lone wolf can produce, might as well, right?
Yeah. And, it's kind of comes with the territory. But I think it leads into, just in my mind, an interesting, kind of, recency here with all the AI buzz. And we'll limit that topic to, what we're talking about here. But you think, just speaking with colleagues and other organizations kind of in this format. It's, it is a different world. A colleague of mine showed me what he had built. He's an enablement, and he's one-clicking account plans for people. When you think about account-based marketing and who do you go after and what do you talk about and how do you get a hold of them and what's your target's activity, what are what's the account done with us, what have they not done with us, what's the opportunity. He just built that out using some of these AI-enabled platforms and Salesforce and internal tools, building out that internal data set. And he's like, so it's back to adoption, as you talked about, you can build that, but who's going to use it? But I think, as a salesperson, I think you're coming to a point where you really do need to embrace it. It's one thing when there's 100 pieces of marketing material published to a repository, and you do cadence-based training and online training, and you're trying to keep up, and some folks adopt, some don't. It's another when you kind of tease up really the path you need to follow, and that's happening almost automatically with some of these tools, or very easily. I don't have to do it myself as an AE. I can get 80% of the way there, 90% of the way there in that particular case I'm talking about with tools. So I know you guys have AI enabled your platform as well with Ask Cal. Did I get that right? Platform. And I just think about what you described, from a salesperson's perspective. I think there's a need to embrace these things because your person sitting next to you is going to be using so much information so quickly, so coherently. If the technology is done right, they're going to be ahead. They're just going to be ahead versus kind of that lone wolf model. I don't know. What are your thoughts on, the evolution when you get to a point where you're talking or chatting with something that has given you exactly what you need? There is no more excuse around I want 1 click, not 5. It's like we're reaching a point where it's a very usable and very powerful sales team. What would you say in that context?
Let me kind of take a step back before we get to Ask Cal, and I will cover Ask Cal as well. But I've heard this stat. I think Invoca was the company that shared this stat on one of the marketing podcasts, and they said that in 39 or 40% of the cases, AI adoption in companies is kind of like pushed forward by the marketing leader. There's way more AI adoption on the marketing side versus the sales side. And, I have a hypothesis of why that is. I kind of wondered, how come marketers are just running towards AI, just, with their outstretched arms saying, please give me more, where everybody else in the company, and I don't want to generalize, but in a lot of cases, they're not as quick to jump on the bandwagon. And I think it's because within the world of marketing, we always live with limitations, would love to do more, a lot of trial and error. The more you do, the more you test, the more you understand what works. Many things do not work. Things have a finite shelf life. Go produce a LinkedIn post, and guess what? 30 seconds later, it never existed. Might as well do another one, right? It's like this constant struggle for resources, speed to execution. So what do you know? AI is here, and out of all these things, I can produce 10 more blogs, 50 more blogs. So it's like this enabler so that you can put out more, hoping that more of that will stick, because the trial and error is always there. And I always use this kind of comparison, which is not mine. I did not come up with that. It's an amazing head of sales, actually, who shared that with me, and I think it's very accurate, where marketers are totally comfortable with this large market outlook, trends, and big data, kind of like this sociologist association. Marketers are sociologists, right? Because we look at trends, large numbers, we synthesize it all, trying to find that nugget of gold and say, hey, this is the trend. When it comes to sales teams, the dynamic is different. They're very good at those one-on-one relationships. Once they understand what the need is, they can drive it home. And that's the whole opportunity, funnel concept. You progress people through stages of opportunities because you develop relationship, you find out more what they need, and you're going to work with that one patient. And that's the psychologist analogy, right? So we got sociologists and psychologists, very different mindsets. Marketers are comfortable with big data, ambiguity, or you have to be, right? Have technology acumen, because that's what you have to embrace. With sales teams, there's a lot of more like people skills, right? Because you're ultimately trying to persuade, convince, and convert people. And that's part of why my experiment of giving all this marketing data to the sales team was like, okay, bless your heart. Great. Thank you. What do I do with it? Like, give me the top 10 that I got to follow up on, right? Don't give me 100, because I don't know. It makes me feel uncomfortable. So, AI could help for sure.
Mhm.
I always feel like the tools that are off the shelf that are out there, all of the LLMs or some vaporware stuff that's built on LLMs, they kind of lack an important piece within them, which for go-to-market teams is super important, and that's the collaboration aspect. Meaning,
Mhm.
if you build something in your little ecosystem, I built my own custom GPT. I'm so happy I got this custom GPT that does the messaging exactly the way I want it to be, and it's consistent and it's amazing. I cannot share it with anyone in the company because there are no collaboration features within AI, within
Mhm.
LLMs, right? You take Claude, Gemini, whatever. I'm sure it will come. Today, it's very much go into your little, solo cell and talk to, or a dark closet and talk to your AI assistant one-on-one, and then copy and paste and hope the other person will kind of, get the same idea. And then you have this other version of AI, and that's where I'm going more towards, tools like CaliberMind that have AI built within the tool, and the tool allows collaboration, allows multiple users, allows everybody to look at the same kind of level playing field, where first of all, it's all your data. Marketing, sales, if you want to bring CS, totally fine, right? It's all your data. It's already been modeled. It's cleansed, it's standardized. So the foundation is very, very clear for any AI tool to work off of it. It's not going to get confused. It's not going to hallucinate. It's not going to come up with things that don't belong because the data has been cleansed. And AI is only as good as your
Mhm.
data. And for us, with CaliberMind, Ask Cal is that functionality that we have that allows salespeople to avoid the fear of that big sparse needing to do extra work with data on account engagement or person engagement, and just ask Cal, hey, who is the buying group within this account? Give me the buying group. So the 2 years of the buyer's journey that I mentioned earlier out of a sudden get boiled down to relevant insights if you have certain
Mhm.
personas and you want to understand what those personas did, totally can do, right? And you get a short summary, like what I was saying, give me that top 10. You will get your top 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It will tell you what they did, and it will tell you what the next steps are if you wanted that suggestion. But it really helps to boil down that noise and kind of a huge variance within the available engagement data down to what's actionable, what you can actually work with.
Yeah, that's an interesting take on it. A couple of thoughts were going through my mind. One, I love the concept of the marketing is embracing a lot of these AI tools as a function more than maybe others in your average organization today. That's an interesting stat, and it makes sense. You because there's an endless demand for I need more marketing, particularly from sales. We need more marketing, need more, and you put it out. Nobody opens the document, no one downloads, or one person doesn't ask for it. So it gives you probably a lot of enabling tools to manage that and say, fine, whatever you want. It's a lot easier to just create variations and keep that engine going, even if a lot of it goes unused. So there's kind of a productivity in my mind. But then I think on the flip side, then it opens the door then for sales to, of course, we're going to complain that there's too many agents to talk to now, even though we're doing natural language and it's super easy. Can't you just put this in one? I don't want to talk to the marketing one. But that's a great way to look for things because you might, um, fairness as a salesperson looking for information. Sometimes you don't know where it is. I remember some training and they put it in a marketing platform. Everything's in there. So go ask it. I know we're using sales. We're using, sometimes you just lose track of where things are. It got posted in a, Microsoft Teams area, and you just can't find things. And AI can certainly help in that regard. So there's kind of an interesting, merge there from two sides, a little bit of a productivity from marketing and just a simplicity of use for sales, emerging, it sounds like, with tools like
And
Ask Cal. Yep.
with bots also, like I know everybody is kind of that's another buzzword, which I mean, I think it's still here, at least in my LinkedIn echo
Hmm.
chamber. AI agents, right? Like
Yep.
everything has to be agentic. You have to talk to everything. You have to self-serve, right? When I think about it, and I think about this term, interrogate the agent when the answer that you get is not the right agent, you know what it reminds me of? It's like when you call the 1-800 number back in the day and you operator,
Yeah.
operator, operator, right? Because you know you're fighting the machine at that point, and what you need is custom and does not have a predetermined path. Well, in this case, hallucination is your friend. You might get a very agreeable answer. Well, you know that it's a true answer? You don't know, right? But I think
Yeah.
people started developing kind of lower tolerance for those easy to get, unvetted answers. What they start doubting is this really rooted in my use case, in my universe of data that should be relevant to my question. So that's kind of the flip side of it. Yes, it's easy. Yes, it's accessible. But if you do not think about kind of collaborative guardrails within what this thing will have access to, then the sky is the limit of what people can get. And that bad information will spread, especially those who are time poor. And we know sales are time poor, marketing is time poor.
Yeah, that's a great point. The ease, having come years ago from an engineering background, there was always kind of a phrase as software really came into that arena. You can plug things in and get an answer, designing whatever it might be, an engine or a bridge, or using engineering. But you need to know kind of what the answer should be, and does it make any sense before you just kind of build that car, build that bridge based on bad information, because it's dangerous, right? That in that instance, same with like a healthcare. So it's true. The ease of the gaining the information, I think, combined with kind of the way it's presented back by some of these tools, it's so eloquently written. You're like, it's got to be right. Write an email for me based on our product at CaliberMind that I want to send out to some targets. And if something is a little off and you don't know it because it's so well written, you're like, this has got to be it. So that's a great point. How do you make sure that your information is solid? And that can't be done individually. It's going to have to be done across functions and collaboratively. It's a great point.
I actually have an anecdotal story. We had
Sure.
someone that our sales team was talking to. They were considering CaliberMind, and the question was asked to the prospect, like, what kind of prompted you to look at CaliberMind? What are you trying to solve for? And they told this story, which is like the worst nightmare for any marketing leader, could be any sales leader, where they said, they use something for kind of bringing together sales and marketing activities, understanding, the journey of the account, all of that. And the reporting was done through AI enablement, where, show me whatever the pipeline that marketing created, boom, easy number, right? So early in a usage cycle, the marketing leader took that number, that easy number, to the QBR, went to QBR and said, marketing generated or influenced, whatever term they used, $3 million worth of pipe in this quarter. And I'm changing the numbers so that it's not
Yeah.
hugely obvious, right?
Yeah.
The sales leader stood up and said, well, that's great, but I can only see $1.5 million in Salesforce. So where's the problem, right? And the marketing, like, I don't really know. I cannot see. I mean, I'm sure that was all done in their head, right? The conversation that took place. I can really see what this thing is pulling the numbers off of. Where at the end of the day, like that black box magic 8 ball of marketing analytics or sales analytics or go-to-market analytics, right? That lack of ability to see where did this come from and match to what is ultimately in any business the golden, standard of how businesses ran, which is your CRM, is also a problem. And you will never, and marketing has done this for years, you get some new shiny tool and it shows you some numbers, spits up something on a dashboard, you copy and paste, maybe you download an image, which is super convenient, put it in the deck and go to your QBR, you aren't prepared, everything is peachy. The sales team does not look at that platform. The sales team looks at your CRM. And in a lot of cases, that bridge is not connected. Marketing stuff lives in different universes, right? On different planets, if you wish, compared to what sales reports out of. And that's the type of alignment. I know alignment has become a very cheesy term, but that's the type of alignment that either, makes you a hero at a QBR, or makes you look like you don't play ball because you got your own little, cherry-picked stash of numbers and it doesn't match anyone's, but you're there to beat on your chest that you did great. So,
Yeah.
you have to be mindful of that ability for everyone to have access to the same story. And then if there are questions, you can work those questions out, but you will not be looking at either different spreadsheets, different systems, or the black box that doesn't tell you where things came from.
Yeah, that's a great story because I'm thinking about, sourcing of information, having worked in some environments where it was everything was always attributed? Where did these numbers come from? What study? Who did it? What was the organization? Just depending on the nature of the business. But in with these tools being so readily available, and you get in a hurry, or you just maybe slip up a bit, where did you get the information from, or did you just kind of rely on said tool, and which could be one of the big guys, and you just kind of went out and gave it a good, well prompted question, but it's like, what are you missing that's behind maybe a paywall, the marketing research that isn't available to these guys? Kind of good old fashioned. How do we base our decisions as a business on good, well formed market information and trends, or are people just kind of pinging a chat GPT and running with it? I'm oversimplifying, but kind of that sourcing. Where did it come from? How do I know your number makes any sense, let alone you're looking at a different version than I am? So kind of just back to, it's interesting, this conversation, even all the technology, is just back to the two functions needing to work closely together. Tools, whatever they might be, it's like we need to make sure we're always aligned, as you pointed out.
Well, one of the marketing beef stories that I feel like always takes place behind closed doors, or when it's the happy hour and it's all marketers around the table. Everybody laments that they always get unsolicited advice of what you should do. Hey, I saw XYZ. We should do this. Hey, I was driving by this billboard. We should, right? And marketers are like, I can't believe they're constantly suggesting stuff. I mean, of course, all the suggestions come from a good place. I always empathize with the suggesters. In a lot of cases, it's sales. I mean, they go to conferences, they go to events. They would love to have more accounts and people to prospect, right? So it comes from a good place. I empathize with them because they don't know what they don't know, and all of the complexities that take place on the back end, right? And I also empathize because I know that marketing is one of those fields. It's like, if you picked it, you really gotta, think hard and pick your poison based on what you will be exposed to. Everybody gets marketed to. Us as consumers, we get marketing aimed at us all the time. The branded stuff is everywhere. The demand gen and ads are everywhere. It's really hard to not to have an opinion of what you think should be done. I mean, it's common sense. Wouldn't you do that because it worked on me, right? So you kind of have to have a degree of tolerance and kind of like take a step back. And it comes from a good place, but let me tell you what you don't know. And thinking back on all of the different sales teams that I've worked with, I've never had a bad sales team. I've never had a relationship with a sales team where it was like, or else. That's never been the case. I've stayed friends with all the different salespeople that I've worked with, and I kind of reminisce on that and think, what was that driver that prevented me from becoming, these sworn enemies? And I think it's because when you think about the common goal, I always had this gambling interest in the ultimate result. I'm doing all these things. Does it really matter if it doesn't convert at the end? If it doesn't turn into something meaningful? Like, it's almost like I question the effectiveness of marketing at its core unless it converted on the other side. Like, I wonder if all of this will work. Like, will it? I don't know. They tell me it will. I should believe that it will. The framework says that will be successful, but I don't know, right? And you would always connect with your salesperson, whoever that is. Hey, I am seeing XYZ for this account because I'm close to the systems. I'm looking at dashboards all the time, right? I'm in technology. Hey, can you go vet? Hey, this account that you're going to visit, or the account that you saw at the event, by the way, they did all these other things. Can they access that? Of course they can. But isn't it nice if somebody just slacks you something? Hey, I already did the homework for you. Just look at these 3 things. And what's in it for me? It's that gambling interest, right? That all the things that marketing has done actually get carried over that last mile, and things happen. So I can say, oh yeah, all of this technology did work. I mean, lots of money was paid for it. It's almost like this self-validation, right? And self-fulfilling prophecy. I think it will work. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can, right? Like, hey, can you go call them? Because the last mile is still with you. So that's, again, back to that collaboration piece.
Yeah, you made that statement, or not having a bad sales team, and I think that's probably a reflection of your approach. As you've shared here today, just we've talked a lot about tools and trends and the interaction between a couple of functions. So I appreciate it. I love the focus on the marketing and sales, but in the end, your approach to, there's all this noise, whatever it might be, data or technology or let alone all the competitors out there and just everything that goes with running a business and trying to market and sell. And just kind of embracing that that's sort of what we're doing is what I've heard, kind of you say, we're in it together. You have an interest seeing it through, which requires sales, and you want to see it work, which is, as a former sales leader, et cetera, that's exactly what I would love from a marketing function. There's going to be times when we're, a little adversarial. There's going to be times when data's, doesn't align. But in the end, are we all rowing the oars to the end point, which is getting our solutions in front of customers and making them happy, and we can both celebrate, which I think is probably why you say you have no bad sales team. There was probably one in there that wasn't great, but you were able to get through it just through your approach and openness. So I appreciate you sharing today the stories and all the information. Is there anything you would like to leave as we kind of wrap up here? Any big lessons learned, any advice you would give out there to the marketing teams, or anything we should know about CaliberMind?
I think to sum all of those things together, at the end of the day, common sense always wins. And how do you get to common sense and everybody seeing the same picture? That's when all the reporting, all the tools, all the insights, all of the intelligence matches across the teams, because we've been trained to look at numbers, dashboards, and figure out where the business is going, right? And putting that front and center, that common sense, what should we look at? What should our framework of KPIs or OKRs look like? Why does it matter? Not because you have access to that, but does it really matter to the bigger picture? How does all of this tie to revenue, right? And how can we look at things through the same lens, not see that in different color? Which in a lot of cases is the case, because everybody got their tools, their technology, their own, fiefdoms, if you wish, of power. So, all of these things essentially are the premise of CaliberMind. I think that's the reason why I was so in love with the tool, because it allowed me to really speak the language of the business and convert all the things that marketing does. And we drive engagement. Let's just be honest. We drive engagement. We get people excited. We get people to remember. We drive behaviors that then translate into actionable, yes, I want to look at you type of steps, right? It allows marketers translate that engagement into revenue. Sales understands revenue. Sales is not interested in engagement metrics. And if people approach it from that standpoint, that whatever my update or my suggestion is and how does it line up with those revenue objectives, I think it becomes so much easier from the alignment standpoint, from building trust across the teams, from building a good relationship. And maybe if you look back after you use this approach for so long, say, I really didn't have a bad sales team. They were nice people. We worked together. We didn't agree on everything, right? So, a little bit of a philosophical kind of take, but I think being able to see the world through the same magnifying glass is extremely important.
I couldn't agree more. And a great insight to the world out there to make it successful. Because when they're working closely together, good things happen. Well, Nadia, thanks so much for joining today. I really do appreciate it. Nadia Davis, VP of Marketing at CaliberMind. Check out what the solutions they have, as she shared with us today, and the solutions they're providing to their customers. It's really awesome insight. Loved the conversation. We stayed out of the AI deep dive a little bit, but just touched on it, which is good. It's
refreshing.
It's good. Thanks so much for joining today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Bill.